So what is the proper way to cure and store medical marijuana?
Well, if you want to be the most medical and connoisseur way possible, what I found is if you can dry your cannabis in an absolutely dark room, light degrades the different cannabinoids by the minute, so you want it to be really, really dark. You also want it to be about 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, because you want to dry very slow. A lot of people in the recreational market, they excel the drying process because of the demand, and it leads to improperly cured meds, which is very harsh. They're not as potent. The flavors are horrible. So what we do is we trim off all the big fan leaves, and we hang in a dark room. We let it dry for about 2 to 3 weeks instead of about a week. You want to slow it down as slow as possible. This is going to allow for the different gases and things to start breaking down inside the plant. And then once it gets to about a 15% humidity, it'll bend and snap. And at that point, it's ready to strip off the stem and put into some paper bags. Put about a quarter pound in each bag, just up to the first line, and roll it down tight. Not super tight, just where it's like a house. And set that in a dark room, the same room, and let that sit for about a week. Turning it maybe every 2 or 3 days, ever so gently inside the bag, and rolling it back down and letting it sit. What that's going to do is draw out the last 15% of moisture from the stems back into the plant, and that gives it a nice connoisseur smell and taste. And at that point, you take it from the bags and put it into glass mason jars. The dark tinted ones like blue or green are the best for filtering light, but most people just use your standard canning mason jar. You want to, after the bag, you want to apply them to the mason jars and then burp daily for like the next week.
How would you burp a jar?
Basically what burping is after it's been sealed down tight and vacuum sealed, you let it sit overnight, and then it'll build up condensation on the inside of the jar. And then you pop it open, and you can either pour the buds out. That's what I like to do, nice and gently. Pour it on a piece of paper and let them air out for a minute, probably 5 to 15 minutes, and then put them back in the jar. And I do that for about a week. And then at that point, then I only burp once or twice a week. It's the longer you cure, the better it is. The chlorophylls will break down and release. You'll notice when you start opening the jar, it'll have a real green, haze smell, and that will, within the weeks, it will slowly degenerate to where you have that nice smelling cannabis, the top shelf stuff you've always wanted. Very key when you're popping the lids and letting it burp, what that's doing is it's also breaking down the different cannabinoids. So what it's doing is everybody's heard of THC, CBD, CBN, and there's other ones that people don't know about, like THCA, THCB, THCB, THCV, and all of those can be converted. Those are inactive cannabinoids, and with the proper cure, they can actually be converted into psychoactive cannabinoids. So a good product can be made an even better product just by curing it the right way.
Interesting. So how do I know what strain is the best and what genetics are the best?
Well, for specific issues that people have, like for me, I have severe pain. I like a good indica dominant hybrid or a pure indica. They are very, very good for pain and nausea. And the sativas are more for psychological problems. They're for more of a daytime medicine, whereas the indicas are more of a downer, more of a nighttime couch lock. Really good for going to bed or resting at the end of the day. Nobody really knows what the best one is for them until they've tried a wide variety. You never really know. It takes a while. There's hundreds of thousands of strains, but we can point you in the right direction by finding out what your ailments are, because there are many strains that have been found to treat specific ailments. And we've been finding out that THC in particular is really good for if somebody needs a relaxing head change, or It does help a little bit with pain. I know it's very antimicrobial. It's about 7 times antimicrobial than ES1. But CBDs, they don't get you high. They are more of a light body buzz, and what those are they're really, really good for pain. CBDs, you can concentrate CBDs and give them to a child, and someone with autism or epilepsy, and they can get relief and go to a normal public school without having a seizure and not be high from it. They can just get the medical benefits. And CBN is a catalyst for THC and CBD. So you raise the catalyst of CBN, the effectiveness of the other cannabinoids are also raised. So how we find out the different levels on all these different cannabinoids is we actually do lab testing. A lot of places here at First Choice Cannabis, we actually go to Sunrise Analytical, and they actually do a full spectrum test of all the different cannabinoids. They test for molds, bugs, pesticides. They make sure it's absolutely organic and medical grade.
Oh, that's great. So can you explain to me the difference in the terminology of medicated versus stoned?
Yes. Back in the day, the Cheech and Chong days, or on the streets, everybody's, let's get high, let's get stoned. And now the terminology, when you become a patient, it's very quickly, let's get medicated. Would you like to medicate? And medicating, the whole difference between getting stoned and medicating is all in the mindset. When you are getting stoned, you're looking for that head change. They're chasing that high. When you're trying to medicate, you are looking to alleviate your symptoms and put yourself in a better state of mind. A lot of times there's symptoms that you've put off and they've hurt you for a long time, and just by having that little bit of a head change and a little bit of relieving symptoms can make a huge difference in your life.
Alright, what about water pipe versus a bong?
Bong was just a slang term that became around the streets of when people would, it basically is a water pipe that you would load your cannabis in, and the smoke travels through the water, and it contains a large volume of smoke. So people on the street that smoke cannabis would be forcing large amounts of carcinogens into their lungs. Whereas we talk about water pipes now, water pipes now are usually used for oils and concentrates that are much cleaner. That you actually alleviate all the plant material, and it is much cleaner for your lungs. You're just ingesting the pure medicine without all the carcinogens. So.
What about a pre-roll versus a joint?
That's just terminology on that. A joint is cannabis rolled up in a paper, and a pre-roll is basically actually a joint is where people lick the paper. A lot of people lick the paper, and it puts their saliva on the paper, and then everybody's sharing that person's spit. Whereas on a pre-roll, we use a medical rolling device. Everybody is sterile. The weed is ground up in a grinder, put in, and then it rolls itself, so you don't have to have your grubby fingers all over it. And it comes with a filter, and it's ready to go. So you can just come in and ask for a pre-roll.